Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
After further review here on a Tuesday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Moscona will be back in the new year. Jordan Kitchens, Taylor Sharp along for the ride. We're glad to have you along for the ride as well, as we get set to send you into the Christmas holiday. If you're already in your Christmas holiday, well, hope you're having a very Merry Christmas and eventually a Happy New Year. But we appreciate you spending some of that time with us here today, as we just have a bunch to cover. Ross Jackson will be with us here in about 14 or so minutes. We have Chris Marler in the 5 o'clock hour as well. Still got to get you a final thought on the Texas Bowl, a final thought on Saints Titans, and Jimmy Ott obviously will be here for Otterlock. Some good games, bowl games going on right now, as well as tonight, and obviously throughout the weekend into the weekend. The Saturday slate is actually fantastic for bowl games. So we're going to get into all of that here over the course of the remainder of the show. Another day, another LSU Tiger into the transfer portal. Right before we came on air here today, so probably around like 2:50 or so is when I saw the news. Happened more around 2:30-ish or whatnot. Coen Echols, offensive lineman for LSU, announced that he will enter the transfer portal. Coen Echols, he was, if you remember, man, a consensus 4-star recruit in the class of 2024. LSU actually flipped him from Texas A&M along with Weston Davis in that class. Echols was the 14th best interior lineman and got a chance to really play a ton so far at LSU through three seasons, parts of 3 seasons. One of them those was a red shirt, but in 2024 he played 5 games. One of those was the Texas Bowl against Baylor, so he was able to preserve his red shirt there. And then he appeared in all 12 games this season for LSU with 7 starts. The majority of his stats came at left guard, although he did have some time at right guard, specifically in the game against Southeastern. This is one that makes sense for a reason that I'll get into, but I also think it's one that does sting a little bit. Coen Echols, he was one of LSU's better pass blockers, where he favored a little bit more was in the run blocking game, and that kind of drug his total PFF grade down a little bit on the season. I mean, he graded out near a 70 in pass block throughout this season. What was down around 50 when it came to a run block, that averaged out to about a 57 or whatnot for his overall grade. So not one of your highest graded offensive linemen. Really had a nice game against Texas A&M. Per Pro Football Focus, that was his best game of the season. Was that one against the Aggies. I said this makes a little bit of sense, and here's why I say that. I like Coen Echols. I think he has a lot of room to still grow and develop, and I would love to see what Eric Walford can do with some of the holdovers on this LSU offensive line. I don't really think it's a void of talent. I think what LSU lacked in I don't mean this as a slight. I think what LSU lacked in the talent that they have at offensive line is plug and play. You don't have Will Campbell. And again, that's not a shot at anybody. Will Campbell's one of the best offensive linemen in the history of LSU's program and was the 4th overall pick in the draft. Right? You don't really have that Emory Jones type guy. It took Carius Kern a little bit of time to even get on the field. Now, when he did, he looked like he could be the plug and play guy. It's taken Weston Davis time to develop, Tyree Adams time to develop, Coen Echols time to develop. So that's where I look at this and I go, that's why this stings a little bit, because I do like the talent there. And again, 7 starts this season for LSU, and some of that's due to injuries and whatnot to certain guys that forced him into that role. But I would have loved to have seen him get a little bit more time. Now with a new coach in there, develop in a new system and things of that nature, and just see if it potentially plays out. But here's why I look at this and I go, okay, it makes sense. Because the turnover at offensive line is far from over for LSU. Like, first and foremost, that's just a fact. The offensive line, I can say all I want about how I like the talent there and would like to see them continue to develop in a new system. The fact is the offensive line was LSU's weakest position group in 2025. You weren't good there. It is really what hampered your offense all season long. That's the main culprit. So the turnover at that position group is not done. Right now, you have Coen Echols and Karius Kern in the transfer portal. You could see more guys enter the portal because one thing's for certain, you're bringing in a bunch of guys from the portal on that position. It's something that you really should have done in the last portal cycle. And then we might, instead of talking about Coen Echols entering the transfer portal, we might be talking about LSU preparing for a college football quarterfinal in a bowl game somewhere. But I digress. The turnover at that position is far from done. Now, when you look at where the group stands right now with Kern and Echols into the portal, and by the way, it is widely expected that Karius Kern is going to play in the bowl game. That was Karius Kern, yes, but I meant Coen Echols, excuse me. Coen Echols will play in the bowl game. That was, what we thought going into this, and obviously, now with his news of entering the portal, you don't expect that to change. I mean, he's been part of the practices and all of that. So you'll get to see one more game. That could serve as an audition potentially for him if you look at this and go, okay, if you're Lane Kiffin, and wait a minute, maybe we want that guy to come back. Maybe we see if we can get him out of the transfer portal and back to LSU. And I just lost my spot on here. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Oh, what are you going to do? I'm trying to pull up where I had Taylor Jordan fill for me, please. Somebody fill for me.
You do still have a lot of guys out there. You know what I mean? You were talking about it a little bit before the break. I mean, Braylon Moore, if he does decide to come back, which if Braylon Moore's coming back, LSU is going to want him back. There's no question about that. Paul Mabinga, who, look, I get it. People, Moose, you and I were talking about it earlier. People still crap on Mabinga because he was thrown in there in the fire as a freshman, and it was iffy. He actually did some nice things last year, especially in run blocking. He was one of your better run blockers. Like him and Josh Thompson the first 4 games of the year, by far your highest graded guy. Solomon Thomas, people forget he's even on the team.
He was hurt, yeah.
He's a former 5-star.
He was hurt all year.
They loved coming in. Bo Bordelon, Brett Bordelon, they still have a chance to come back. Tyree Adams, Weston Davis, Ori Williams.
That's who I was going to bring up.
Really, really well at the end of the year. Like, you have bodies there. It's just you got to get them experience and get them coached up.
That's what you have to do. But even in that, so I mean, you have plenty of bodies. That wasn't the problem a year ago. The problem was the execution, the performances unit, the coaching of that unit, those things. LSU, when I look at this, they will be fine from a skill position standpoint. Like, you have skilled players that can still return. They're very inexperienced, but you can bring them back, and they're talented and deep. You brought in a great skill class in the recruiting in the class of 2026 for the cycle. Where LSU has to address is the offensive line, and I just think you end up with some casualties there, because what LSU needs, if they are going to compete for a spot in the college football playoff in 2026, Lane Kiffin's first year, which is the goal, you've got to go out and get plug-and-play guys on the offensive line, like you did with the Braylon Moore, like you did with the Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson's he's out of eligibility. He's not going to even play in the bowl game, right? Kern's in the portal. Now Coen Echols is in the portal. So you're right. You are left with those guys, Tyree Adams, who I thought played really well.
DJ Chester is still on this roster.
Bulk of the season. DJ Chester is still on this roster. Paul Mabinga, you mentioned the Bordelon brothers as well. Ori Williams, who really, he's got great size, and I thought when he got his opportunity down the stretch, had some nice moments. Your depth there isn't the problem. The thing with the offensive line is the evaluation that has to take forward. So I look at this and I go, okay, Kern, Echols, the the turnover at that position in that group, it's far from over. Whether it be going in and definitely going out and definitely coming in for LSU here in this offseason. That's just the way it goes. But I will say, LSU so far, from what they've had leave, they're in a pretty good spot. It's far from over, and there certainly will be more names, and maybe even some bigger names into the transfer portal. But, I mean, I think you look at this right now and you go, okay, the two biggest are the offensive linemen, Karius Kern and Coen Echols, that have entered the transfer portal so far. So the cupboard is not bare at LSU, but the turnover is not done. I think that's the way I'll kind of say it and just leave it at that. Sorry, the laptop malfunction there kind of just derailed the entire segment. But we'll press on. We're going to grab a break. It's a Tuesday AFR presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and Locked On Saints. He joins us next here on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Glow Resources. If you are a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a VP, an ops manager, if you're the person in charge of hiring at your job, at your place of business, and you're having trouble finding the right people, you need Glow Resources. Now, I want to remind you, Glow Resources, they're exceptional when it comes to skilled blue-collar workers and also white-collar divisions. Remember, Glow Resources has a full professional placement division. So we're talking about office administrators, executive-level assistants, assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job. Accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, supervisor roles. If you're having trouble finding those people and sometimes hard to fill roles, Glow Resources specialize. They recruit nationwide. For example, they had a Baton Rouge company that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online today. glowresources.com.
Click through the static and listen to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge in high definition.
Simply tune to 98.1 and select HD2.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
All right, rolling along here, Tuesday edition of AFR, last show for us before the Christmas break. So it's our last chance to talk New Orleans Saints and their upcoming game against the Tennessee Titans. Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints podcast, also writer extraordinaire over at LouisianaSports.net. You can get him on Twitter, X, at Ross Jackson Nola. Ross, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for making the time. Okay, let's start here. Can you just give us a overview of what the week is like for the New Orleans Saints? I mean, look, Tuesday's normally the off day in the NFL. Kellen Moore met with reporters today and all that. What is their week like around the Christmas holiday?
Yeah, so basically what they've done is that they've made Wednesday, they've just took Wednesday and Thursday and then bumped it up a day. So Friday will still be Friday, Tuesday is Wednesday, and Wednesday is Thursday, which probably makes no sense. But
Yeah.
so they actually held their first practice today, but the injury report days stay the same. So fans and all will still see the same injury reports Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but they'll have Thursday off for Christmas Day, and then they just kind of moved everything up before that a day in advance.
That was going to be my next question, was actually availability and things of that nature. But, I mean, an availability report from practice, I assume y'all were out there?
Yep, yeah, I'm actually just now starting to work my way out of the facility. I never say leave because I don't feel like you ever actually leave this place. You just kind of take a little break, you know?
It's a part of you for sure. Okay, so high points then from Kellen Moore's media availability here today as they start practice week.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we kind of harped on this week with him was just kind of talking about kind of where things are right now for him and Tyler Shuck in terms of building their connection, building the orchestration of the offense, and then simultaneously really the contributions of the rookie class. This rookie class has been probably the team's best since 2017, which of course was an incredible class that included the offensive and defensive rookies of the year that year. So very hard to beat that class. in terms of accolades. You look at all the contract money that those guys have picked up. And of course, the only one of those players remaining on the roster right now for New Orleans is Alvin Kamara. And so looking at this 2025 Classic does really it absolutely represents the new era for New Orleans. A 9-player draft class, and 5 or 6 of them are playing really important roles. 4 of them are starters. 5 of them have been starters, if you include rookie running back Devin Neal, who, of course, is out for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury. And then you have guys like Danny Stutzman, who continue to rotate in, Maliki Matsuval, who continues to get action as well. And so the contributions of this rookie class have been really, really unique. And they kind of led off, of course, with guys like Tyler Shuck and Kelvin Banks Jr. as the future of this team and kind of its next era.
Speaking of the future of the team, and I want to get a thought on the Titans game and all that a little bit towards the end. Speaking of the future, it was a very emotional day in the Superdome on Sunday, specifically with Cam Jordan and Taysom Hill. And you can throw Demario Davis in there as well. They're all 3, Ross, unrestricted free agents. All their contracts void for 2026. And Cam said it best. He said, I've never not had a contract. I mean, it's the most uncertainty around him there is. What do you think the appetite is right now for the Saints to potentially bring those guys back, and how can they make that work?
Yeah, I do think that there is purpose or reason to want some of, if not all, of those guys back in some capacity next season. It's just going to come down to what the contract terms are. You're probably starting to turn the page or pass the baton or pass the mantle, whatever cliche you want to use. You're probably passing things on eventually here, and so you have to build out a contract that specifically allows for that, so you're not shoehorning yourself into a situation. But you look at how incredibly productive Demario Davis has been yet again. He's been a big-time leader for this team, an emotional leader. He's been sort of the ambassador to Paris for this team. So if they're trying to go to Paris next year, that in and of itself kind of lends to the idea of potentially keeping Demario Davis around and allowing him to pay that off. And altogether, he has still been an excellent player for the team. Cam Jordan's got 8.5 sacks. Taysom Hill just topped the 1,000 mark, first player in Super Bowl history or since in the Super Bowl era to top 1,000 yards, rushing, receiving, passing. Like there's value for all of these guys to be brought in, and those are the tangibles. The intangibles come with the leadership, the mentorship, all those other pieces. So I do think that there would be an appetite for New Orleans to bring those guys back, but the biggest question mark is going to be, can you create the contract that will allow that to happen? Cam Jordan might not have a year on his contract beyond here or money on his contract going into 2026, but he still counts against the same salary cap. And so the potential of being able to create an extension or a re-signing that ends up, pushing some of that money a little bit further or ends up chewing into some of that money, like there are these little things that you can start to work out where it could actually be beneficial for the team if they do the contracts right. The big thing is not to get overly sentimental and to understand sort of the business side of this. I'm talking about from the team perspective, who has a habit of getting overly sentimental sometimes when it comes to these contracts, and really instead going, money forward in terms of these deals and making sure that the financials work as opposed to just leaning in on the sentimentalization of what those players bring to the team.
All right, let's turn the page back to this team and what's ahead, because, look, they've won 3 games for the first time since 2022 right now. I mean, they're on a great run. Tyler Shuck is ascending up Rookie of the Year boards. The last time we had you on was last week, Ross, and we talked about the improvement of the offense in the red zone. I want to ask you about the other side of the ball, because Brandon Staley's defense in the last 7 – I mean, they've allowed 15 points per game in the last 7. They've been awesome. The pass rush really ticked up. And as you mentioned earlier, I mean, Jonas Sanker just continues to improve, talking about the young players in the draft class. But, I mean, what they're getting really – and you got Justin Reed back. What they're getting from all levels of this defense, what do you think has really led to the turnaround? Because they weren't good early in the season, Ross. Like, this was a bad defense earlier in the year, and now they're among the NFL's best.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is that they got all of their pieces, right? Not having Chase Young for those first 5 games, I think it was, because it was New England was his first game. And so for those first 5 games it's a pretty big piece of your defense to be missing because he's your most consistent pass rusher. He's not your most productive right now, with Cam having 8.5 sacks versus him having 7 sacks, but he has been productive beyond that in terms of somebody helping as a run stopper, affecting the ball, when he gets to the quarterback. I think all of that factors into kind of why this team has been able to kind of push things forward. I also think it just takes time to learn a new system. We're talking about a team that has been an even or maybe multiple front, but lived in an even front look for most of their time with Dennis Allen, who's been around kind of pioneering this defense since 2016, 2017. And now all of a sudden you've changed everything to stand-up pass rushers, wide 9 route pass rusher distribution, and, a 3-4 odd front. And so, that takes time for everything to settle in. And boy, when it settled in, it sure settled in. And I think when you look at the young players, that's part of the advantage for New Orleans. They have young contributing pass rushers. Let's not forget that Chase Young is only 26 years old, or 26 to 27 years old. You have a second-round corner starting on one side. You have a rookie corner starting on the other. You have a young safety. You have a versatile safety and a veteran guy like Justin Reed, as you mentioned, and then you have all these other pieces that are fitting in. Brian Brzee, I know he's dealing with injury right now, but he's been a big part of the team as well. And so I think all of that just kind of started to mesh and come together. And then once the system started to set in, Brandon Staley then is able to go, okay, now how do I utilize these unique skill sets within the system? Because the system's working, so now that we learned how to walk, let's learn how to run. And I think that that's what you're starting to see, is that this defense is off and running all of a sudden. And I think a really good example of that was Isaiah Stallberg's sack last week. Mm-hmm. They take Carl Granderson. They rush him on that wide 9 formation. They pull that tackle out. DeMario Davis takes off the guard, and there's just this wide open gap for Isaiah Stallberg, who's lined up at corner effectively to shoot that gap and be able to get to the quarterback and Brady Cook. And it's just those little things, right? Using the athleticism, using the threat of DeMario Davis, using the alignment with Carl Granderson to your benefit to create these big plays. That's what we're starting to see them settle into.
Talking with Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, Locked On Saints podcast on Twitter, X at Ross Jackson Nola. A couple more for you, Ross, and I'll let you go. Very much appreciate your time. What did you make of the game Kellen Moore called on Sunday? Because I'll tell you, I thought it was one of his best to watch him manipulate the offense to the players he had available, with no Devon Vele, with no Alvin Kamara, no Devin Neal, and they got there, put up 29 points and 412 yards. I thought it was pretty masterful, actually, from an execution and game-calling standpoint.
Yeah, I thought that he did an excellent job throughout that game, and especially, as you highlighted, with what wasn't available to him on the field. And so putting those players in position to succeed, that's always been a big part of what it is that Kellen Moore has highlighted, right? The pre-snap operation on offense, and how important it is to be able to match up, change, make adjustments, checks, things like that based upon what the defense is showing you, and then being able to put players in position to make plays, to operate to their strengths. And I think we saw examples of each of that all throughout this matchup. One great example was Taysom Hill's touchdown to Chris Olave. Taysom Hill takes the snap, that safety over the middle of the field is kind of in this cover zero look. He could either, get a little bit of depth to try to take away that post right over the middle of the field, or he has to be a little bit at least worried about what it is that Taysom Hill's going to do with the ball in his hands, because he's a threat as a QB power guy, sure, but he'd be a threat as a QB draw on that play as well. And so that safety gets frozen, caught flat-footed. Chris Olave's got 4.3 speed. He gets over the top. So you're utilizing all these strengths of these players to create those moments, and it's all happening in less than 2.5 seconds. And I think that that's the Kellen Moore offense that we didn't see early on in the season, if we're being honest, that we're starting to see now over the course of these past few weeks that really start to build the identity. They're balanced in terms of how they like to, in terms of the distribution of run versus pass, although we didn't see that against the Jets when they threw 50 times, if you include Taysom, in that game. And so I think those are the things that you're seeing. And in addition to that, just the adjustments from one week to the next week, not a lot of repeated mistakes. You'd like to see, there's still some growth, right? You'd like to see more success on scripted plays. It's a curious thing that they don't have a lot of success in that area of the game. And then, of course, finishing off those long 10-plus play drives with touchdowns rather than field goals. But, hey, things are clearly headed in the right direction for that Saints offense, and especially with Tyler Shuck calling the shot.
All right, Ross, 2 more for you, both on the game coming up against the Titans. which players, or if any, who are injured, is it reasonable to expect could return Sunday in Nashville?
I'd watch for maybe Awesome Richards to potentially make his way back. He was out on the field today. He wasn't participating, but he was observing. We didn't see Alvin Kamara. We didn't see Cesar Ruiz. We didn't see Brian Brzee or Foster Moreau. We basically already know Brzee and Moreau probably not playing this weekend, according to based on some of the things that Kellen Moore said in his Monday presser. So really, out of all those guys, Awesome feels like the guy that could potentially either have a role or step back in at right guard. But I think they like what they've seen from William Sherman there so far. So maybe if he's healthy, Awesome Richards just kind of has a role on offense as a jumbo guy or as an emergency guy. But that might really be it. I mean, more than likely, we're going to see a very similar personnel this week that we saw last week against the Jets.
All right, last one for you. If the Saints get win number 4 in a row against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, what does it look like?
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, that would be their first 4-game win streak since 2020 with Drew Brees. So that's a big gap between now and then. So that would be a great thing for them to get, especially with Tyler Shuck and the sort of the excitement that's already built up there. I think really what this comes down to is if the Saints can score points and get ahead early, like get a bit of a fast start. That's the phrase I was looking for. Couldn't find it. Then I think that the defense, as we highlighted, can do enough to limit what Tennessee can do. Cam Ward deserved to be the number 1 overall selection. He's a fantastic young quarterback. I can't wait to see how he grows in the league. But right now doesn't have a lot of weapons. Chika Okonkwo, Alec Ayumanner, DK that's out there as well. Like they have some good weapons there, but I think the biggest thing that you're looking at is from this game is create an early deficit and then let your defense hold on to it. And I think that that's what a win looks like for them. You don't want to get into a shootout because then they become a little bit unpredictable. But if the defense is able to keep the points off the board and the offense can start early, they should be able to cruise in Tennessee.
Man, it feels good right now around the New Orleans Saints. I don't know earlier in the season if any of us thought we'd kind of get to this point, but they've won 3 in a row. They've got a chance to win another one here against the Tennessee Titans and continue to build for the future. And that's certainly what they're doing, which it feels good. It feels good around the Saints right now. Ross, we appreciate the time as always, man. Y'all get him on Twitter, X at Ross Jackson Nola. Read his stuff at LouisianaSports.net. I mean, it's free. Why wouldn't you? And also subscribe to the Locked On Saints podcast. You're the best, man. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Back at you, man. Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me on. You take care. Stay safe. Talk to you here soon.
Absolutely. Again, that is Ross Jackson. We will grab a break, but before we do that, Matt's going to tell you about Supper Club.
We're brought to you by Supper Club. You can book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. One of the things about Supper Club that I love is if you want to go to Supper Club and be a baller, you can do it. You want to go to Supper Club and order a $5,000 bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, you can do it. You want to go have $400 shots of cognac, you can do it. You can have experiences at Supper Club that usually are reserved for Las Vegas and New York and Paris and Abu Dhabi. Like, that's here in Baton Rouge. But the thing you got to remember as well, if you want to go to Supper Club and have the best steak of your life and have a few appetizers, a dessert, bottle of wine, you can do it as affordably as any other restaurant in town. But the experience at Supper Club is unmatched. Introduced open seating at the bar, first come, first serve. So if you knock off of work, you want to head by Supper Club, you can walk in without a reservation, see if you can grab a bar stool or a table by the bar as well. Have a great dinner, maybe cocktail, close some business. Book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com.
All right. We're going to grab a break here. Come back on the other side. Reese Davis is trying to save bowl games. I'll tell you why even his proposition probably won't give you the desired effect. We'll do that next here on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-001-752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. I love sharing 5-star Google reviews. Here's one from Ricky Gomez, who said Chris, his technician, was very professional and knowledgeable during the HVAC evaluation. He provided details and recommendations in a clear and concise manner. That's one of the things that always stands out. If you're having an issue with your AC or your heater, and River City's 1 Hour Air sends out a technician for an evaluation, they're going to explain your options to you. And that may sound simple, but like none of it, like I don't know anything about an HVAC, neither do you. Let's be honest. So whenever they go get up in your attic or they go look at your HVAC unit on the side of your house and they come talk to you, like they're going to explain very clearly what's happening and your options to remedy it. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, I mean, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center, state-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
All right. Reese Davis is just the latest to suggest something like this, but he's trying to save bowl season. And basically what he's proposing is paying the players for the bowl game. But the way he proposes it a little different than just, hey, they get a cut of the revenue. What Reese Davis is proposing, and he did this on the College Game Day podcast, is the model that the Players Era Festival has introduced into college basketball, which has been very, very successful for college basketball. So much so that the field is increasing from 18 to 32 teams next season for the Players Era Festival. And what happens there is they're playing for money. The winner gets prize money to divvy up amongst its student athletes, amongst its team, amongst the members of its team. You know, second place gets a little bit lower, third place gets lower than that. So what Reese Davis is suggesting here is do this for bowl games. Non-playoff bowls, or as he said, quote, just any bowl game. The Boca Raton Bowl was played today. Do this for the Boca Bowl, right? Where you get a corporate sponsorship if you're the bowl, and you promote it, and there's money, all of that involved, and the winner you play for money. The winner, you play for prize money. The winner of the bowl game gets the higher of the prize money. The loser still gets something, but it's the lower end. And he's hopeful that obviously this would create intrigue around the bowl games, make the teams play harder in bowl games, obviously minimize opt-outs and things of that nature. And I'm here to tell you that while that sounds great in theory, and every time anyone's, anytime anyone has ever suggested this type of idea or just giving the players a cut of the bowl revenue, that always sounds great in theory. And look, this isn't something that's foreign to college football. In fact, it's going to happen next year in the Aflac kickoff game. You may remember Auburn and Baylor had originally scheduled a home and home. Auburn went to Waco this season, and the Baylor return trip was in 2026 to the Plains. That game has been moved to the Aflac kickoff game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, in part because Auburn student athletes now are going to have an opportunity for unique NIL opportunities in that game. This is a first in college football for a neutral site game. Auburn, they'll have opportunities through ticket sales and other, supporting events around the game, probably promotion and things of that, to make NIL. So it's not that this is completely foreign. Like, this is starting to happen. But it's just not, I don't want to say it's not going to work for bowl games. It's not going to deliver the desired result. And here are the reasons why, in my opinion. Number one, and Reese Davis says this in his quote, that the people who run these bowl games actually might not like this because they're going to make less money. And that's the whole reason bowl games existed in the first place, was money and to make money for the sponsors and the TV networks and things of that nature. That's number one. And Reese Davis is absolutely right in prefacing his idea with that. Furthermore, if what you're hoping for is eliminating opt-outs, it may work in certain instances, but let's say you still have a Mansour Delane. Or let's say you have an instance like Cam Ward a year ago, who's at Miami, who is projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but Miami's not in the playoff. That guy's still normally not going to play in the bowl game, regardless of the NIL compensation that he could get in prize money. Why? Because it's the same reason draft picks opt out of bowl games and started doing so before NIL in 2016 with Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette. It's the risk. You're a first-round pick. You stand to make a lot more money. Why go play in a game that doesn't matter? I hate to say that, but that doesn't really matter in terms of, winning things of significance and jeopardize your future in the NFL. You go start your career. I think that would still happen. Like, y'all, if LSU was getting some type of prize money to divvy up amongst, at least 80 scholarship players, that's the other reason this works so well in college basketball. You have a smaller roster there with players era in festival. Is he really going to put himself in a jeopardy, a guy who's dealt with injury already this year, in one more game when he stands to be a top 10 pick in the draft? No. No. Flatly no. That's not going to happen at the clip that many people would want it to. Also, how much money would you actually get? What are you looking at for the winners? $50,000 per player? I can't imagine it gets to $100K. Maybe for bigger bowls, maybe. But for a Texas Bowl? For a Boca Bowl? We know the people at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, they take care of because it's the greatest bowl that's ever existed. It's the greatest bowl game that's ever existed. But is that money worth playing in a bowl game over your NFL future? For a lot of guys, I think that answer still remains no. And here's the other portion of this. If you're hoping to nix the portal aspect of guys entering and not playing in the bowl game, then the transfer portal window has to be moved again. It has to start completely after bowl season, after the college football playoff even. Because there are certain players who understand, hey, I'm going here to test the market. Look, take Sam Leavitt, for example. Sam Leavitt stands to potentially make $4 million in the transfer portal per a report earlier today. Arizona State, what bowl game is Arizona State playing in? Does anyone know right off the top of their head? I think they actually play Saturday.
I'd be lying if I told you.
The Sun Devils. The Sun Devils, I believe, play Saturday. And they are in... I lied. They don't play Saturday.
I'm about to say the Big 12 teams are Houston and BYU.
Arizona State is in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Oh, that's a good one.
That sounds lit, man.
No, it's not.
Frosted Flakes?
No, it's not. Do you really think Sam Leavitt, who's dealt with a little bit of injury this year, has entered the portal and stands to make $4 million, would be like, I'm going to play in the bowl game anyway because maybe I can make $60K for winning the Tony the Tiger? No, you wouldn't do that. So you'd have to move the portal window again, and it'd have to match up with the calendar. There's too many issues to where this would not, I'm not going to say it wouldn't work. Some players would look at this as an opportunity and be like, absolutely. But others are going to want to get into the portal, start being able to talk with teams, things of that nature. And look, you can enter the portal and play in the bowl game. You're seeing LSU players do that. So sure, it could deliver that desired result maybe for you. But I think you're already seeing that a good bit in college football now with players, still playing in the game when they're going to enter the portal. But I don't think the money is going to be game-changing enough to really alter decisions from the top players who you want to play in this bowl game and play hard. I just don't see that. More often than not, the first-round pick, he's still going to opt out. The second-round pick, he might still opt out because there's just more money involved in his future at that point than getting a payout and prize money from the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. I like the idea. It's just not going to deliver the desired result that anybody wants it to. Bowl games are dying. That's the cold, hard truth now in college football. The other thing is, with playoff expansion, what impact does that have on bowl season? Do you incorporate more bowls into the playoff, or do those games move on to campus more? It's just a lot of uncertainty and unanswered questions around it, and it feels like bowl season will just continue to flounder. It's where we are. All right, we'll grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side. It's a Tuesday edition of AFR presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We'll grab a break, come back on the other side, and Taylor, Tigers in the Pros. That's next on AFR.
AFR.
We are counting down the minutes till Santa comes down the chimney. And if you have not yet secured that perfect gift for the hard-to-buy-for person on your list, I got a great option for you. Just get by Clegg's Nursery. Any of the 4 locations. Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. They got so many options. I love telling you about their tuned wind chimes. You have someone on your list that loves to spend time in their outdoor spaces. Tuned wind chimes are a perfect option. Also, bird feeders, hummingbird feeders, the ever-popular Clegg's gift card where they can choose what they want. Still a great selection of poinsettias grown here locally at their greenhouses. Beautiful in many different colors. Maybe a citrus tree. So many options. You know where to go. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Ed sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
Imagine a road lit with holiday wonder and a vehicle ready to take you there. The Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, crafted for comfort, designed for celebration. During the Holiday Love event, lease yours for just $549 a month at Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge. It's the season of giving and the perfect time to gift yourself the drive you've been dreaming of. Hurry, this holiday offer ends January 2nd. Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge, love the drive.
Hey, Eddie Kennison here. As a former Tiger and pro athlete, strength, energy, and performance are still important to me. That's why when I felt my strength slipping, I turned to Rejuvamine Medical. Check your testosterone today at RejuvaMeMedical.com. That's REJUVIME Medical.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Love telling you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. That's Arco Power Systems. You know, we talk about generators a lot in Louisiana, especially all along the Gulf Coast, where we're sort of in this storm belt right here in the Gulf Coast. Well, of course, a lot of people have home standby generators. When we talk about Arco Power Systems, these are not home standby generators. This is industrial generator power. This is for your business. I mean, just think about it. When the power goes out, be it a hurricane, an ice storm, snow like we had last year, power goes out. What do you do with your business? Well, being offline is not an option. That's why you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Just look at all the locations. Baton Rouge, Bossier, Harvey, Lake Charles, Mandeville, Mobile, LaPorte, Texas, San Antonio, Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They're everywhere. So if you're a business and you need standby power for your business, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2 here on AFR Tuesday edition. Final show for us before the Christmas holiday. We're happy you're spending some of your Christmas holiday with us as well. We get set to send you in to that break. Taylor's going to do so right now. Close out the hour with Tigers in the Pros. Take it away.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
Just one actual game note for you. Last night, the Detroit Pistons took down the Portland Trailblazers 110-102. It was former Tiger Duop Reith off the bench. 6 minutes. He did not record any points. He was 0 for 2, but a rebound, an assist, and a block for the former Tiger big man. As far as the NFL goes, Jamar Chase voted to his 5th career Pro Bowl. So don't worry, guys. Yeah, that's 5 years.
5 for 5, isn't it?
That's 5 for 5.
How about that?
We get to see Jamar play dodgeball and tug of war.
Love that.
I know that's appointment viewing for everyone.
So good, dude.
And Texans cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. named a Pro Bowl starter for the AFC as well. back-to-back years for him as well. He had that 31-yard pick six that we talked about yesterday in Tigers with the Pros on Sunday for the Texans. He's been incredible this year. He played in all 15 games. He has 4 interceptions, 13 pass breakups on what is kind of unarguably at this point the best defense in the NFL. And just one more for today. Guys, Ben Simmons.
Yes. There we go.
Making a comeback.
Former SEC Player of the Year.
But not in the NBA. So last time he played was with the Clippers, 2024-2025. He had talked about wanting to come back and, make a NBA comeback. But he's put that on hold because he has purchased a controlling share in the South Florida Sales Angling Club as a member of the 16-team Sport Fishing Championship. So Ben Simmons, now an owner of a fishing team out in South Florida. Believe it or not, guys, he said it's a very niche sport. Yeah, I'll say so.
I can only imagine.
Ben Simmons still not hitting threes out there on the boat, and now owning his own fishing team. No word on when he will be back, but Ben Simmons in the headlines for kind of a unique way there. As you mentioned, former SEC Player of the Year. Maybe he can get Fisherman of the Year in the South Florida Sales Angling Club.
You know, it's not something that I had on my 2025 bingo card, Ben Simmons moving from the NBA to professional fishing, but good on him, man. Seriously. Like, we could make jokes and stuff, and I'm sure we will, and they'll be funny. But that's awesome, actually, for Ben, because the guy's made a lot of money so far in his career, and that's a good investment. I mean, it is a niche sport, but, if you can get a return on the investment, then go for it, man. And while you work your way back into the NBA, work your way back
Check out
into
the fish,
NBA.
guys.
I mean, look at this. You're catching that. I mean, you're going to bring in some money off of that. I mean, that's a giant fish. What is that, a grouper?
Yeah.
Is that a bonita fish? Or bonita fish big?
Yeah, Musso, they're a trophy fish, so they're pretty big.
Thank you
Jordan,
very much.
what's this guy's deal?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It looks
for
like
that.
lunch.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to grab a break. That puts a button here on hour number 2. When we come back, we haven't really talked much about the Texas Bowl, so we'll do that. We'll give you a final thought on LSU and Houston. Still have Chris Mahler coming up and a final thought on Saints Titans. That's all next in hour number 3. Stick around.
AFR.
We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit, firstsouthland.com, firstsouthland.com. Thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Again, you can log on to firstsouthland.com. We're nearing the end of the year. Maybe you're thinking about that tax write-off. You're buying timber property, recreational timber property could be a great opportunity for a tax strategy. Talk to your CPA to see if that's something that might make sense. Or maybe, right now you're in hunting season and you're tired of sharing that lease. This is a good time to call our friends over at First South Farm Credit to start that process toward owning your own land. It's First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com. Land's a finite resource, y'all. It ain't never going down in value and they ain't making more of it. So you want to get your own. First South Farm Credit can help. firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com.